and welcome back to Your Autism Game Plan. I'm Joya Laan, a family nurse practitioner, a functional medicine specialist, and an autism mom. Today we're going to be talking about protein and its importance for our kids. Specifically with kids with autism, we know that there are certain deficiencies, and especially because they're often picky eaters, and kids in general, right, can be picky eaters, and especially because most of the snacks marketed towards all kids are heavy in carbohydrates and sugars, because let's be honest, they're delicious, but they're deficient in good fats and especially in protein. So let's talk about protein, why it's important, and where you can get protein into your child's diet. It's very simple. Proteins are the building blocks of life. When we eat protein, our body should digest and break them down and then reabsorb them and create something new out of them. Think of a child building something with Legos. They build it, they take it apart, they rebuild it into something else. That's kind of like what proteins and amino acids are. Amino acids are those individual Lego pieces, and proteins are the final project. Proteins are needed to make everything in our bodies, from our cells, so everything, right? Our cells that build our bodies, our neurotransmitters, our hormones, they're so important. And if we're not getting them in, there are certain amino acids especially that our body just will not make. Glutathione is a really good example of this. Glutathione, in order to make, we need glutamine, glycine, and cysteine. If we don't have one of those, we can't make glutathione. And so if we're deficient, if our children are deficient in amino acids and proteins, that can limit their ability to produce things like neurotransmitters, repair and produce cells, make hormones. Pretty important stuff. We need protein. One of the better sources of protein and amino acids is going to come from animal sources, so meat and poultry and fish, eggs. Some people are vegetarian or vegan and want to avoid those products. This makes it a little bit more difficult to get sources of complete protein where all the amino acids necessary are in there. There are many plant sources with protein, but often they're incomplete proteins, that meaning they don't contain all of the essential amino acids. When this happens, it becomes important to combine or pair foods in a way that you're making sure that the foods that you're eating all together do contain together the complement of essential amino acids. When you're eating meat or animal products, you're going to be getting the whole variety of essential amino acids in that one food. Over the years, I've learned to be very creative with ways that I get protein into not only my own kids, but also my pediatric patients. So one of my favorite things to do are smoothies, and especially if you make them ice cold and kind of thick. Sometimes if you use the word milkshake or smoothie or ice cream, that immediately leads the child to be more initially accepting of it and at least be willing to try it. Oftentimes the smoothie itself is delicious, but your child is so unwilling to try it because it looks different, it tastes or smells different. We need them to at least try it, right? So two of my favorite brands of protein are Orgain. They have organic plant-based protein. They also have a whey-based protein, but I always start with a plant-based because sometimes whey can be a food sensitivity issue with our kids. And then also a product called OWYN, OWYN. It stands for Only What You Need. They both have powders, both chocolate and vanilla, and also they have little cartons, single-serve cartons of protein shake that you can just open up and drink. They're perfect for school lunches or on the go. They don't need to be refrigerated until they're opened. And so I really like those. They're plant-based, and you can even use those as a base for adding all sorts of other things into a smoothie as well. Nuts and nut butters are always a favorite of mine as well. Of course, this is a challenge if your child happens to be allergic or sensitive to nuts, which is not uncommon. But if your child is not sensitive or allergic, things like seed butters or nut butters, so almonds and sunflower seeds, cashew butters, not peanut butter, that tends to be inflammatory, highly pesticided, so I don't love peanut butter for that reason. But similar nut and seed butters are great. They're also a really good source of healthy fat. And so you're getting a little bit of protein and more fat in those admittedly, but still a very, very good addition to any snack, either added on top of fruits or some gluten-free crackers, and a lot of kids will accept that. Of course, meats are high in protein and amino acids, but sometimes it's hard to get our kids to eat those types of things, so we need to find other ways to get that in. Meatloaf tends to be better accepted and easier to chew. Oftentimes kids have a harder time with whole pieces of meat like a steak because it's just harder for them to chew. So if we can put it in meatloaf, you can also sneak vegetables in there, very, very finely chopped up, and they will not detect them. You can also do jerky. So a lot of companies now are making grass-fed and organic jerkies. Look for the paleo versions that don't have too much sugar added, but that can be a really good snack. I put meat sticks in my kids' lunches all the time, and jerky. Sometimes there's paleo teriyaki jerky that you can buy that does have that sweet taste, but it doesn't have all the sugar in it. So those can be really nice as well. Bean dips are another good option. Kids in general love dips. Now, that's not always true with our kids with autism because oftentimes there are texture aversions, right? So try it with your child and see if it doesn't work, then you may want to put that on the side burner and, try it again another time. But things like hummus made with chickpeas or black bean dip is basically a black bean hummus. There's lots of good recipes online for those types of things. My kids love those, partially because they have grown up with them and it's not something new to them now at this, 8 and 10-year-old age. But especially if your kids are young, try introducing these things early. Even if they see you eating this type of thing, then that becomes more normal to them as well. Try to make them from scratch at home. And the reason I say this is because there are less preservatives, less additives in there. And also, most importantly, you can choose the oil that you use in these dips. So instead of the store-bought dips that often contain omega-6 vegetable oils, canola oil, sunflower oil, the cheaper oils that are high in inflammatory fats, you can make it with olive oil at home, making it even healthier because now not only are you getting the complex carbohydrates, the protein from the beans, you're also getting the good fat from the healthy olive oil that you're using. I'd also love to hear what creative ways you have found helpful getting protein into your child. All our kids are different and we come from different backgrounds and cultures, and maybe there is a food from a different culture that has high protein that we have not thought of giving. Let's all help each other out. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear how you're getting protein into your child. Feel free to email me as well, and I can make a post or even a video on that for next time of different ideas that I've gotten. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you'll check out my course on yourautismgameplan.com where I cover the essential 5 areas that you can use at home to help your child see progress and find relief. Thanks again for joining me, and remember, be gentle with yourself. You're doing a great job.